Whoa, we're here.
Damn! Oh, it took me by surprise.
No, I think it skipped 3 and 4. Or it starts at 5.
Damn, nobody knows what we're talking about. Every time we get on here, it counts down from 5, and it went 5 to 2 on your screen. It went 5 to 3 on my screen. We didn't know what the hell was going on.
Mine went
to be honest,
5, 4, 3, and then started.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if we're actually going.
We're recording.
It says recording, and it says 99% updated.
Oh,
okay.
Man, dude, I am too hungover.
1, 2. Okay, my microphone was stuck there for a second. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Damn.
The microphone thing was just stuck on the bottom and not reading, so.
I have just, I'm just so hungover that I really think it's probably working just fine, and we don't even know. And the worst part is my hangovers from Saturday night. What am I doing on Monday morning still feeling like this?
Yeah, Caleb tried to kill us this weekend.
I did. I did my best. It didn't work, but damn, I was close. We had our joined bachelorette party in Kentucky this weekend. Had everybody drive up.
Kentucky in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
Yep. And, I mean, getting to this house was a long, winding road, and I guarantee you there was 0 people besides Maxwell and Cynthia that were able to drive that road that night. I cannot believe that we survived. Period.
You mean when they left?
That was a 2-day straight-up bender.
Yeah.
Like, geez. We got home yesterday, and you were asleep for almost the entire day. You woke up for the race, and then we're back asleep again. That's what I hear.
I had to drive originally, so I drove for 2 hours, then slept for 2 hours, watched the whole race, slept again.
I hope everybody understands that Dawson sleeping while riding down the road with his wife is a very rare occurrence. That would almost never happen.
Me sleeping in the car in general as an adult, I feel like is a very rare occurrence.
Damn. We're getting old, man.
Yeah.
I'm too old to be doing this anymore. Holy crap. It's rough. It's rough.
The best part, you would have loved this. So we're sitting in the living room. Like I said, I was sleeping. And Lindsay was watching something on TV, whatever. And she goes, Dawson. And boom, 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 boom. Somebody's knocking on the door. And I'm like, she's like, somebody's at the door. And I'm like, what the? I get up.
Kidding.
And I'm like, kidding. No, I swear to God. And I get up and I'm like, what? What could possibly be going on right now? And I'm just like tired and like my heart's beating just because I'm dead asleep when you're just like standing straight up kind of thing.
Yeah, I can tell by the face you made.
And I'm looking around and I look outside and I was like, it's just Morgan. And it was Lindsay's sister.
Oh
coming
my
in.
Gosh, that's hilarious.
Lindsay couldn't our blinds were open and stuff, so I don't know how she didn't see her. Once she's at the door, you can't see through the blind, like the door through the blinds, obviously.
Oh my lordy. That's hilarious, man.
She just, they bought some chickens. So she was like my cage that I can transport chickens in. They borrowed it. So
your chicken transport truck.
Yeah. They were just returning it. But I was like, she didn't like say like, hey, we're coming over. It was just like, boom, boom, boom.
Hey, we're here. That's hilarious.
This is also coming from the lady. One time when we first moved into our house, the security dudes knock on the door, and Lindsay's sitting there and goes, ah! And screams. I wasn't
Lindsay
here
does
for
not
this.
like
I've just been
unannounced
told about
visitors.
this story. And like apparently the guys thought it was hilarious and like all this stuff, but
yeah, nothing like a traveling salesman to think something like that is hilarious, especially when they're selling security systems.
Yeah.
Good
and
Lord.
I told them not to come back, and they came back. So I was like, you really should just leave.
Yeah. Like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
No, the fuck you don't.
That's a story for another day.
That is. But yeah, we had 2 days in a row. We got there, all 4 of us and her friends, Quentin and Amanda.
On Thursday.
Got there on Thursday night. And we
drank
a little bit.
Everybody forgets about us drinking and having a good time Thursday night.
Yep. Then we got up on Friday, and we started at, 9 a.m. drinking mimosas?
I started
Something
about
like
10.
that.
I started at 10.
And when we say mimosas, we're talking like champagne that got rubbed next to an orange, so it just didn't, let's put it this way, that was just a bad idea, we just didn't know it at the time.
No, we know. How many days have we spent at Live Oak drinking mimosas in the morning?
Ooh,
The
yeah,
best
that's a good
thing in the
point.
world, though, is like, this is going to make me sound like a major alcoholic saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. But like waking up in the morning and having a mimosa with like, it doesn't even technically have to be breakfast food because at Live Oak, it's like a brunch, get like some chicken or some wings, like whatever. It could be like any type of food. It doesn't necessarily have to be like breakfast food. But like you get up and like drinking a mimosa, and then when you first wake up, like it's like one mimosa and you're already like, all right, here we go.
The way we pour them, hell yeah.
And then Clint, which is Allison's friends, they're making some eggs and sausage and hash browns and bacon, whatever. That was all.
Gravy.
That was great. Yeah, gravy. So
Yeah.
biscuits. It's just like a top. It's like one of my favorite things in the world. It's like that buzz. Like that's like where the buzz is the best. I don't know if that makes sense because like after that you start getting drunk and then it's like it's fun. Don't get me wrong, but like the buzz when you're like eating a brunch with a mimosa is up there on my like list of favorite buzzes. If that makes sense.
No, it makes sense, man. It makes sense. That just then we went to dinner
there was
that
a
night.
minute.
We had, I think there was like 5 buckets of beer on our table alone, and that doesn't count the other 2 tables worth of people we had because there was a solid like 25 people that came.
I don't think the other table had a bucket of beer on their table, and me and Mark
it's probably
were the only
all
ones
right,
drinking.
man. It took everything about 3 hours longer than it should have at that restaurant. Granted, I don't think small town Eddyville, Kentucky was ready for a party of 25.
I think
they're still not.
My favorite thing about that is everybody's like, we're all complaining a little bit, like whatever, and they're like, well, look, y'all have a group of 25. I was like, we're the only 25 motherfuckers in this place. I don't care if it's a group of 20. We had 3 tables worth of people.
Yeah.
Every single table, other than there were some dudes in the back who were just drinking.
Every
single
too.
table was open, and it was just one of those places where like you order shrimp and it's straight up the frozen shrimp from Kroger that they put some hot sauce on and heat it up, and it's like charge you $25-$35 for it. And it's like, man, I'm getting robbed here, but this is my only option, so I got.
But we had a good damn time, and that's all that matters.
I snuck a beer outside of the restaurant in my pocket and gave it to you for a present, a Coors Light, when we got out there. I thought that was pretty solid.
That was pretty solid. You
beer
know what?
The
best part about it is, too, beer in the pants.
I have beer in the pants that out the door.
Water in the streets, beer in the pants in the seats. Oh, man. But the funniest part is I remember you doing that now, but at the moment, I didn't even question it. I was just like, hey, free beer. All right, cool. But I never even thought, like, where the hell did that man get that beer from?
Well, we said something to the guy about, like, taking it out of there or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, something along the lines was, like, I'm not looking. He didn't say that, but it was something a little more clever than that. But that's what he meant by it.
Yeah.
And we had a few buckets of beer, but like the whole situation was like took hours to complete. And then the dude was so bad at like getting us our drinks and stuff. We had to go to the bar to buy drinks. We couldn't even like order them from our dude. We had to go to the bar. And then he didn't know how to split our ticket, so we had to like Venmo. Just great all the way around time.
Oh yeah, it's a small town local diner that had no business having a party of 30 walk through the door, but there we were. But either way, then Saturday I had the truck race on for a little bit there.
Wait. Let's tell them my favorite part of the night that I just remembered about the restaurant.
What's that?
The best part of this is the guy walks up, and we were all joking around. Our waiter was probably taking like key bumps in the bathroom. There was also a waiter that had his pants so low you could see his complete whole ass crack. Or he might not have been waiters like in the kitchen. That was another top tier moment that Mark was pointing out to us. My favorite thing about it, though, he goes, okay, I'm going to start out with I'm going to tell you what we don't have. Not what we have, more of what we don't have than what we have. And so our whole table is wanting to get like a burger or some seafood or the fish platter, catfish, whatever. Well, he just starts naming off. It's like, we don't have burgers. We don't have catfish. We don't have this. We don't have that. And everyone's like, okay, we waited 3 hours to order, and now everything we wanted to order is completely gone. And he did that to every table. Went to the first table, second table, third table, and like had to name off. And the menu already wasn't like a huge menu. So like say they had like 14 items. I guarantee you 6 to 7 were not on the menu. So it was like 7 items. And so everyone had to get like chicken sandwiches, which is what I got, or shrimp. And literally the shrimp came out in a bowl. It was about like this. And it was either 25 or $35. And everyone was like, you got to be kidding me right now.
That is incredible.
The dude that was with Allison that was from Michigan with the dark beard, he was like,
Luke.
He's like, what the fuck is this?
Oh, man. There's just one of those where just like I feel like everybody just kind of kept it under wraps, but any individual that had that experience at that table, if it wasn't for that trip, would have definitely been lighting somebody up, but nobody
or
felt
just left
comfortable.
Or something. Yeah, if it wouldn't have been a big group or like a party, everybody was like, this is ridiculous. Like if you
we were kind of screwed too because with 30 people, you don't exactly just have 30 people's worth of food on hand at any point. So if we didn't get that, we were screwed. We were up a creek. We had nothing else to eat.
Yeah.
So we just had to deal with it. But it ended up fine. And so we watched a little. I tried to put on the truck race when everybody was kind of, about afternoon when everybody's still trying to get back up with the day.
We didn't watch a lap of the truck race. Me and you watched the race from last year and thought it was this year's.
Oh my God, that
100%.
That sentence right there should tell you everything you need to know about how we're feeling right now on Monday.
We didn't know the race was canceled or postponed. They were showing the race from last year, and we're straight up watching it like it was this race.
Oh, we got so Twitter puzzled on that.
I get on Twitter and I was like, Caleb, this is the wrong race, because they were like, it was like just a couple minutes ago. They're taking the tarps off the truck right now or whatever. In the Xfinity race and the Cup race or in the truck race are going to go green flag at the same time, pretty much. And
oh man,
one was in Gateway, one was in Portland. But we watched. We had it up. We couldn't. There was no Wi-Fi in this place. There wasn't great service, so like Twitter didn't always really work that well. But Caleb had his computer up on the mantle thing up there, which when you're sitting down and looking up at the mantle, you couldn't even really see the computer, which was also awesome. But we were watching the wrong race, which tops the whole deal off. We're also like not listening to the broadcast or anything they had to say because
I had it turned down. My computer has a blown speaker on it now.
But that was the wrong race.
Oh man, dude.
And then we had to use a hotspot to do that. Didn't want to use the hotspot anymore, so we didn't watch a single lap of the trucks or Portland race. I just kept Caleb up with a couple updates on Twitter that I could find.
That I'm not sure I remember. So if I give any opinions on a truck race or an Xfinity race, just know I have no idea what I'm talking about. But Cup race did get to watch it, so that one I can at least, I can flap my jaw about a little bit. But yeah, we got home on Sunday and
how badass Shane Van Gisbergen is. A bad son of a gun.
Hell yeah.
And he just is a badass.
I cannot believe the fact that he's already won 2 NASCAR National Series races. And he's barely even been racing ovals and NASCAR stock cars for a year. I know that was a road course that they won on, so it's like he is what AJ Allmendinger used to be talked up about. I feel like he's threatening that.
When
you heard Chris Rice the other day, and Door Bumper Clear talking, and I think AJ, whenever he first got there, was a little bit threatened because the way that he put it, he was like, AJ Allmendinger definitely took a minute to warm up to the idea that Shane was going to be on this team.
Yeah.
But now they kind of lean on each other. So I think they've gotten over it a little bit, but definitely I think AJ was just like, this is my thing, dude. I'm the road course guy. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
And now he's gone and
he congratulated him in victory lane and stuff. They're definitely
he's gotten over it now.
We said here again, this is one of the things we talked about on the pod in preseason Thunder, though, like getting to watch them go head to head in the same equipment at road courses was going to be like top tier TV.
Yeah, and AJ finished 4th in the race. It looks like. Like I said, I didn't get to watch it, so I don't know the reasons why anything happened.
Top 7, which on Door Bumper Clear, Chris Rice said we have to win this race.
That's a good point.
And they came out all finished top 7. They do have to. All finished top 7.
You heard him talking about the way that Matt reacted to them finishing a genuine last place, running last on the racetrack at North Wilkesboro.
Yep.
He was like, that was So you could tell he had a major talking to after that one. Like, we can't let this happen again. I'm here to chase trophies. I can't win them from the back of the pack. What are we doing?
I bet they were getting ready to have another talk after yesterday because Hemrick was running dead last in yesterday's race.
He was running dead
he
last
did not
at one
finish.
point. I don't know where he finished.
18th because I looked. I wanted to see where he
There
finished.
you go. Yeah.
So because of some attrition and some things that happened, whatever.
And I'm going to guess strategy calls.
Yeah. Hey, top 20, that's fine. That's great for them. But
I mean, shoot, you got Derek Kraus finishing in 30th. So that's another Kaulig car that's way the hell back there. You got Henrik finishing in 18th.
I think.
I think you're right. But, I mean, that just tells you everything you need to know. Their Cup program, I think we talked about this a long time ago before we ever had this podcast going. But I remember us talking, I don't remember whose opinion it was, but I still stand behind it. As soon as they announced that they were going to start a Cup Series team, I was like, man, they better kiss finishing 1, 2, 3, 4 and Xfinity all the time goodbye. And it's going to be hard because you got to manage those resources. Like, obviously, he wouldn't be there if he didn't have the money to do it, but it doesn't mean that it's going to make it any easier. Now you're adding Cup Series programs, some of them part-time, some of them full-time, moving drivers around. You've shaken up your entire business strategy, and now it's like Kaulig went from being almost unbeatable in Xfinity, and they were definitely the top dogs, to, I don't know, man, they're just kind of part of the pack now. And their Cup Series program obviously has not quite gotten to where they need it to be yet. I mean, they've had a couple good things happen, don't get me wrong.
It's for sure not there. I mean, they have a couple Cup Series wins, which is great for them. But, like,
100%.
they used to do a good job of, like, capitalizing on moments, if that makes sense. Like,
that's a really good way to put it. Yes,
Allmendinger in the best car at the track where he can go win at.
Yeah,
and like all those things to me, that's where the whole chasing trophies thing. It's like, man, y'all really are like, this makes sense to me.
Yeah,
and same thing, which he caught a lot of heat for, putting Allmendinger in the Xfinity race, whatever, last year when it like conflicted with something to do with the playoffs and the Cup Series, whatever. They were trying to put their best person in the best place to win a race.
Yeah.
So I feel like that is like that strategy is like semi out the door, because I mean they got full-time guys here, and like I know we've talked about Daniel Hemrick. It's like, okay, you're not chasing trophies in the Cup Series with Daniel Hemrick and Derek Kraus.
Yeah.
It's
you're
just
getting
like
laps.
Yeah.
You're getting data points.
Yeah. So I don't know
Denny
what you're
Hamlin
doing.
always wants to talk about.
But, you're not doing that. So like that is a thing there. And then, as we talked about, as a whole, the Xfinity Series team just is not what it was.
Yeah.
So, overall, not what it was. But to go to a road course yesterday or Saturday, and all the cars finished top 7, which was like three cars, I think. Josh Williams finished 7th. So it was Van Gisbergen first, Allmendinger 4th, him 7th. That's what they needed. They had to do that. And we said last week on this podcast how Justin Haley looks like a genius for like leaving what I'm sure he saw, like we just said, a weird, the situation over here is changing. I'm going to do something else. And here again, boom, another top 10 finish. Justin Haley in a Rick Ware car has more top 10s this season than Austin Dillon. I mean, what more can you say about Justin Haley? I mean, dude's killing it.
He absolutely is. And I think you're completely right. I think he saw that there was writing on the wall that their team's mentality was changing, and that doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. We may be commenting on a lack of success, but that tells you where the expectations for Kaulig racing is. They're not, the Cup Series program aside, and Xfinity, it's not like they are finishing dead last consistently. It's not that we're necessarily telling them every single race needs to be a top 5 or better. But when you're consistently underperforming compared to where you used to be, it makes you wonder how much the mentality of, just like what you said, they used to be chasing trophies. They just wanted any trophy they could get. And maybe it's a positive spin. I mean, maybe playing the devil's advocate here, it could be that my ideology has gone from we want any trophy to we want bigger trophies. We want bigger moments. We want to go deep into the playoffs. And maybe they're shifting their focus a little bit away from individual races and the moments that you were talking about and trying to find a way to put a full season together. And this is all just inference and just things you see on the racetrack, off the racetrack. Mentality changes are always something that could be a positive. But it makes me wonder what's going on over at Colleague, what kind of conversations that they're having, because it's obvious that Matt Colleague, good Lord, Matt McCall, tells you how hungover I am. I'm naming crew chiefs now. But he's talking to his team president and telling him, I'm not pleased with the performance. I need it to be better. So he's obviously still in this thing. I'm very intrigued just with you, just like you have always said, putting Daniel Hemrick in a cup car. What's the end goal there? Putting AJ Allmendinger back into the Xfinity Series for the full-time runs, putting him in random spots up in the Cup Series. What's the long-term goal there? What are you trying to do with all these pieces and parts that you've got, and with all this allied over with Trackhouse here and talking with these guys over here? It's like there's obviously a plan. I just don't see it yet. I don't see what it is that you're trying to work for, because I don't see anything paying off just yet.
Yeah.
So I have a lot more questions than I necessarily do concerns, but the concern is definitely starting to build.
Yeah, I agree. All that to say, I think SVG is a badass, but I also think SVG is going to be in a Trackhouse Cup car next year, and
that'd be pretty damn neat.
Maybe
they'll finally get up to Nashville a little bit more, and we'll be able to see an Australian doing shoeies off the top of Morgan Wallen's new bar that shall be unsigned.
Yeah, there's no sign at the Morgan Wallen bar, according to Nashville.
Yeah.
I was about to say something else. Oh, let's talk about what we nailed before the news happened last week. SHR shutting down.
Ooh, yeah.
We caught it on here. We literally said once we all saw that the land and the facility was up for sale, you got to know. Like you just got to. Everybody on Twitter called it the worst kept secret in the garage. Like once like you could be extremely out of the loop and know that once it's for sale, the land and such is for sale, that like, okay, something's changing soon.
Yes, something is changing. Where do you think those charters are going? Did you send me that thing the other day?
They are for sure. One is for sure. From what I can read, there's one that's unknown right now. We got a for sure to Front Row, or for sure to Trackhouse, and a for sure to 2311.
Okay.
But we have one up for grabs still.
Say those one more time. Trackhouse, 2311.
And Front Row Motorsports.
Front Row Motorsports. Interesting number of changes there. I mean, you got Michael McDowell leaving Front Row. Which means that they'll now have two open.
So my analogy here with Ford and all the things is Ford is very involved in this and doesn't want to lose some of these guys. I'm hearing, it's the same stuff that it's not just that I'm hearing, like I have personal people telling me. It's like just what I see on Twitter. Briscoe to the 21, and then Barry and Gregson to Front Row.
Interesting.
Front Row is going to be okay. There's an odd man
out there.
There is an odd man out there.
Ryan Priest. I get it. I hate it, but I get it. He's not performing. He's not involved with the group stuff. Whether that is his own doing on both of those accounts, whether that's his own doing or team doing, I don't know.
You got to think, too, if, say, RFK, which I heard they're in the mix, doesn't mean it's for sure, but say RFK gets the fourth one. That's three of those four cars are going to go back to Ford.
Yeah,
which is good for them, I'd say. I mean, it's better
lose one
Ford
to Toyota,
losing all of them. But like, it would be if Ford would be that'd be good for Ford to get at least three of the four that are getting put up for grabs.
It would be, and then Trackhouse, 2311 would have to be finding somebody else.
Yes,
to fill in a spot.
No, wait, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry.
We're just going to tell everybody all the wrong things.
Sorry, 2311 is Toyota. Trackhouse is a Chevy. I was thinking about Briscoe and 21. That charter's already there. Sorry, that's where my mind was.
Yeah.
But 3 of the drivers,
it's so
I
many
guess,
pieces
is what I'm
and
saying.
parts. I
3
mean,
of the
we can
drivers
go.
would stay with Ford, I guess, in some way, shape, or form, whether it be on a new charter situation. Say RFK got a charter. That's where my head was. Sorry.
Yeah.
If RFK gets a charter, that's a Ford. Front Row gets a charter, that's a Ford. And then the 21 gets one of those drivers. Which it's
so
pretty
he stays
common
in the
knowledge
camp.
that Harrison Burton is out. I mean, everybody posts that. I mean, Bob Pockrass even posts that. Like, in which,
if you don't see that coming, I don't know what you're watching.
If you don't see that coming, you didn't see SHR getting sold either. So I don't know what to tell you if you don't see that one. But that's what I was getting at there. Sorry, I just had my words mixed up, but that's what I was going for.
Well, we could take all of that and put it all together into one sentence. This is the wildest set of moves that I've personally seen since I've been started watching. I mean, there's one team shutting down, multiple teams growing, one team switching a driver, one guy leaving for a different team. I mean, it's a mess. Those graphics that they start the year off with everybody moving from one team to the other, it's going to look like a damn spider web by the end of it.
I mean, they've been saying that this year is going to be the silliest of silly seasons there is, so it's living up to the hype.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And to kind of segue that into the race that we saw on Sunday a little bit, Austin Cindric gets this surprise. I can't call it a fluke win because they genuinely had top 5 speed all day.
Fluke is in he hasn't ran that good in 85 races.
Fluke is, well, yes.
That's where you're going with that.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's just, I'm out here in a very important season where there is a lot of competition. There is so many drivers that are looking for rides. You have a whole team of 4 people that now are unemployed next year. Every single one of them has their eye on all these ideas about where people are going. We may be fairly certain, but until those actual deals get announced by the teams or the drivers, everything is up for grabs.
Totally.
I mean, contract negotiations can get eliminated at any point because somebody else offers something better over here. So Austin Cindric's riding in a 2-car. That is the only car in the last 2 years at his team that hasn't won a championship.
Or a race.
So, and you're talking about a guy with 1 race win, 1 top 10 for the entire year. This was only his 2nd top 10 even, much less top 5 or win. So in a way, it feels like a fluke win. They just, if you take it out of context with the rest of the season, they ran phenomenal yesterday. I don't know where the hell that came from, but all of a sudden he comes out here and gets this win. Does that change your mind at all about Austin Cindric and his future at Penske?
I hate to be
it's
this
hard
guy.
to answer, isn't it? It's hard to answer.
As long as Tim Cindric is the team president of Penske, I don't see Austin Cindric going anywhere. And then yesterday in the press conference, they are saying, like, we've never lost hope in Austin Cindric. I mean, I just thought the writing's on the wall there.
If I'm holding the trophy, I'm going to say some positive shit too, though.
I like Austin Cindric. Like, he's funny.
I do too.
I've said on this podcast, I thought when he came in from the Xfinity Series, comes out with a win and did run good there originally, I was like, damn, this guy's about to light it up. And then that just did not happen. And we've talked about that on here, how for what the expectations were for him coming into what has happened, like, yes, you would call that a disappointment of a thing, you know? I think the Penske lineup is the Penske lineup for the foreseeable future. And I don't think there's much changing there. I mean, you're not going to get rid of Ryan Blaney, and you're not going to get rid of Joey Logano, and then I don't think
you're definitely not getting rid of those two.
The president's son right now, while he's I don't know.
You'd be a fool to not assume that he had a hand in helping his son get to that position.
Yeah, I think also,
but I don't know their relationship good enough. I don't know Roger Penske and Tim Cindric's relationship good enough, or Austin Cindric and Roger. There's a lot of moving parts to this. I cannot speak to how much him being the team president helps him stay in that ride.
I mean, also, if some huge free agent comes available and Roger Penske wants to put him in his race car, you're not going to stop Roger Penske from putting the guy in his race car. You know
exactly.
What I mean? If he wants to make that decision, he will make that decision.
That's where I'm at with it.
It's his name on the side of the car, not Cindric. You know what I mean?
I think it's real easy to say good things about somebody when they do something awesome, but I think it's really difficult to I think it would be very difficult for anybody to be able to just blatantly open-face tell you that we never had a single doubt about Austin Cindric. After it's been, 3-4 years now that he's been in that ride, and every single year it has declined instead of going up.
That's a great point. That's the biggest thing, probably. It started out here, and even after the win, he had a little bit of success, and not even leading laps, just like top 10, top 5, whatever.
Doing what a young driver needed to do.
It gradually went down every year that he's been in the car. So
the best and worst thing that ever happened to Austin Cindric was winning his very first race in the Cup Series at that Daytona 500, because it set him up with so many expectations. The only thing he had to do at that point was underdeliver. But it also helped add a little bit of credence to his name of, I do have a win in the NASCAR Cup Series, and it's a Daytona 500, so I can show up in those big moments.
Hey, they say a Daytona 500 is going to keep you around for 5 years at least.
and it's working. It's working. But best and worst thing, when your first race is a win, Shane Van Gisbergen could probably speak to this too. When your very first race is a win, you only have down to go. The best you can ever hope to do is to meet that same level of expectation.
I saw a cool stat, and Kyle Busch has the record for most percentage of wins in the NASCAR's top 3 series, like out of his starts. And it's obviously because he has like 110 Xfinity Series wins. That definitely helps his stat.
And was he at like 60-something truck wins? I'd have to look it up to know for sure.
I don't know.
It's another big
I know
number.
it's like 200 and something total of all 3. Yeah. But, dude, he's won something stupid, like 18% of the races he has started in his NASCAR career, which just blows everybody else out of the water.
Yeah.
But the reason this stat is out there is because SVG is very high on the list, like right up behind Kyle Busch, because he's won a little bit over 10% of his starts with the 2 wins.
Yeah, because he's started like, 20-something races, and he's won 2 of them now?
Yes. And people were making jokes. It was like the next road course, which I don't think that they are racing anymore. I think there's only one road course on the Truck Series schedule this year, which that's probably for the best, which was COTA. But some people were making jokes. It's like they should just put him in a truck at the next road course. He would be almost guaranteed to win, and he would officially have the quickest win in each first 3 series in NASCAR history, pending it happen. But you know what I mean? Like starts-wise.
Yeah, that would be nuts. You know he would. That's the hard part, though, is that he would get in there and some young buck in a truck that he has no business being in is going to force him 3 wide into a corner on a lap he couldn't pray to complete.
Yeah.
And just knock him out of the way.
Totally.
That's what I would expect. But yeah, so the heartbreak. The Blaney fan heartbreak. I'm wearing my Ryan Blaney shirt in memoriam of what almost was. We get around, one lap to go.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tee up the whole thing, too. There was 2 guys that were fighting for the win, and there was 1 guy waiting in the wings. And first you have the phenomenal battle between Blaney and Seabell, where they are dogfighting back and forth for what would be the lead, and then what eventually was the lead.
And it felt like they raced like that forever. Like it felt like they did that for so long.
It was like 10 to 15 laps of just back and forth and diving low and coming up high. As soon as Christopher Bell finally managed to get position on him the first time and got on his outside, and Blaney had to pull the crossover, if it wasn't for as good of a run as he got off of turn 4 to make that crossover move happen, that would have been it right there, sans Seabell's engine blowing up. But he crossed him back over and retook the lead on the next set of corners, which blew my mind because I thought as soon as Seabell got that outside, he's just going to do the same thing you were doing.
Yeah.
And he comes back, gets the lead again, and then just starts doing everything all over again.
Yeah.
It was mind-blowing racing. I loved every second of it. I was getting nervous, but I had a feeling Blaney didn't win. I just had a sneaking suspicion because I was watching it later. Once again, I got stuck at the dog boarding place because they wouldn't give me my dog back for 2 hours until they had a front desk person there to click a couple buttons on the computer. That's a story for another day, too.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I did not leave there very happy, and they know it. But I finally get home, and I have to restart watching the race from the middle of stage 2 when y'all are already about 50 laps to go. So I finally get home, and I start watching, and I just had this feeling, man, when I saw it coming down to the end. But then it gets to the white flag. So Seabell finally blows his engine. I still haven't heard exactly what it was. Somebody was saying dropping cylinders. He was saying blowing up. I never really got a full picture about what exactly happened there. I never saw any smoke come out of the car either. So Seabell's out of it. Then Blaney comes to collect the white, and I saw it going into turn 3 when Suarez repassed him to go back.
That was weird.
Onto the lead. I don't know if it was a lead lap or if he was a lapper already, but he got one of his laps back there. And as soon as I saw that happen, I was like, something is wrong with Blaney's car. There's no way he is going slow enough of the lap car just past it. Coming off of turn 4, looking kind of normal again, because in the middle of the corner, he got another burst of speed to get up and around Suarez. And so I'm like, how did he pass you? And then how did you just suddenly get that major burst of speed and pass him back? Why did Cindric's interval just go from 2.6 down to 1.3 in a straightaway? That should happen in a corner, not a straightaway. So there's just so many things in my head. I'm like, oh no, there's something's about to happen. Boom, comes off a turn 4, up against the wall. Cindric dives down low, and as soon as I saw Cindric get out of line, I knew something was major going on.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he doesn't even lead the second to last lap. Cindric comes around, sneaks a win out of there. A much-needed, badly needed win. I mean, they needed that top 2 run, much less getting the win at the end. But holy crap, talk about, I cannot believe what a huge letdown. I mean, running out of gas with a lap to go.
Yeah.
Who's on the radio? Are they telling him to save? Are they not telling him to save? Did they just let him run?
Nobody had a clue? Gas.
Nobody had a clue?
I have a few theories here, and this is nothing that anybody said. This is just me BSing. But this isn't a theory. This is just I just wanted to say this. If I know Blaney was like so heartbroken that he was just sitting there, this head down thing. If it wouldn't have been another Penske car, it would have been like doubled down on the heartbreak.
Oh, he would have been cussing. He would never have taken that interview, and he would have gone straight to his pit box. What the hell was that?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So this is my thought. So like him, Logano, there was like 4 guys because everybody reposted Bob Pockrass's tweet that said this, but there's like 4 guys that all pitted on the same lap. And he says in the tweet, like, these guys will be good to go on gas. And they weren't like, the lap they pitted on doesn't put you like you're just got enough gas for, forever, but like enough gas to get through the race, maybe over, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. One, I think it's possible, and this is always possible, that like they didn't get as much gas in the car as they thought they did. I think that could be a thing. But I personally think because they battled for so long, the 20 and the
12.
20 and the 12 were battling so hard for so long that one, Blaney is using, I mean, he's hard on the gas nonstop. You know what I'm saying? So he's
always that way.
He's not only is he not saving, he's driving harder than he normally would be, which is going to use more gas.
Yeah, because Seabell was obviously faster than he was.
Yes, and Blaney was driving his ass off, which immediately makes him use more gas than the guy that's running third, which I'm not saying he's not saving gas running third, but he's not running as hard as Blaney was having to run to keep the 20 off of him. And then I also never actually heard what happened to the 20 car. I did hear the drop cylinder or whatever, but they're shifting like hell. When you're shifting and over-revving the motor and all that, they literally raced so hard that the cars could not handle what was happening. I think, like, his car, I think he possibly blew it up on a shifting situation. And I think Blaney was running his absolute ass off using every drop of gas in that car possible.
I love the perspective on it because it just makes you view that battle even more.
Yes, that's just my theory.
They fought so hard that their cars literally had nothing left to give. It was like, that's all we had. That race was just one lap too long to run that hard.
Yes, and like I said, and I don't know like per lap how long it was, but them battling side by side, literally through the whole entire racetrack, both corners, both straightaways, it felt like it lasted forever, like watching it go down. And even what made it even cooler to me was having like the strategy of like, you got these guys stand out long, whatever. I love when they tell Blaney he's 1.5 back, and Blaney goes, for the lead. And he's just
for
like,
the win?
For the win. Yeah. And he's like, he is peaked out up here. And he was driving the hell out of the race car.
Oh, he was already, because everyone on that racetrack and the guys up in the booth, everybody knew that Seabell should have won that race. He absolutely deserved to win that race. And anybody that argues otherwise, and I'm the leader of the Seabell hate page, so if I'm saying it, everybody's got to be saying it. That dude was fast as all hell. I don't know
even
what
fast
the world
in traffic. His car was fast, and when everybody else would get stuck in traffic, he was still fast.
Like whenever they were talking about Blaney trying to pass Bubba Wallace for position on the racetrack, took Blaney 5 laps to figure out. He finally gets around him. That battle allows Seabell to catch up to him, and the moment Blaney gets around him, Christopher Bell did it in the next corner.
Yeah.
So it took Christopher Bell 2 corners to do what it took everybody else about 20 corners to do.
Yeah.
That's how fast he was. That is how fast Christopher Bell's car was that day. And if it wasn't for that grenade situation, there's no way Blaney held that up for another 25 laps. There just wasn't going to be a way. Obviously, by the end of it, hindsight 2020. I think he would have gotten around him at some point regardless. But man, it's mind blowing. I love the way you just put that though, because that makes me view that battle even different. But
did you vote yes or no on the poll?
Oh, absolutely. That was a phenomenal race.
See, I thought
I could totally see some people saying something otherwise, because it did get a little processional in the middle there, but
that's the only thing I was going to bring up.
It had so much strategy. It had
it
groups
had
of cars doing one thing,
yeah.
Groups of cars doing another thing. The fast cars always ended up front. The slow cars always found their way back to where they were. I mean, that was an old school NASCAR race from top to bottom.
I agree 100,000%. It literally felt like an old race because of all the way the stage. I wish every race the stages were set up long enough like that to bring in that much strategy. And the only part during the race that I was like, whatever, was when we talked on the phone and I was like, you haven't missed much. And it was it's very gateway. There's just a lot of, it was like this whole dirty air thing, whatever. Well, the dirty air thing semi went out the window when the whole field was on different strategies. Then you have comers and goers, different guys on different gas strategies, newer tires, older tires. There was 2 tires, there was 4 tire stops. That jumbled it all up. And once it got jumbled up, boom, we had a hell of a race. And then the way they could race side by side, I mean, that I was already enjoying it, but then seeing the Blaney Bell battle made me I was like, this is awesome. And then the other stuff that happened, just like that uncertainty thing that I always talk about loving, that made it even more awesome for me. That was it kept getting better for me the whole entire race, which is great. As a fan, you're just more and more excited, more and more invested the whole entire race.
Without a doubt, I completely agree with that.
So yes, I also voted yes because of all those things. Like it just started out being great.
That's the thing is, I love it when people ask me, "You sit down and watch an entire NASCAR race from beginning to end?" I get
every
that
week.
question so often. I know you do too. I know anybody that watches racing like we do. They get this question. Do you really sit down and watch an entire race beginning to end? Like, how does that not get boring, just watching these cars go around in circles? And I'm like, because you don't know how racing works. You think that...
And you don't know what you don't know. Because
you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah, but you just need someone to be able to sit down and explain the story of the day. Because if you came into me on lap with 60 laps to go in the race that we just watched yesterday, do you know how long, and I know you do, but if someone comes up to you at 60 laps to go in that race and asks you, oh, dang, is so-and-so going to win? I see they're in the lead and they're running out of laps. It would take me a solid 3 minutes to give you a good enough description for you to understand the fact that the guy running in 9th place right now has the best chance to win this race. As long as a caution doesn't come out, the guy that's running in 9th And there's a problem, though, because the guy running in 11th is probably going to catch him, and it's going to make it a really close race for the win. You can't just walk up to a TV and know that about a race like what we just saw yesterday. And that is why I loved everything that this race was, is because every little thing that happened in that race changed the way that race was going to finish. Brad Keselowski could have won that race if a caution had come out in the third stage. Christopher Bell could have won that race if the caution doesn't come out and he doesn't blow up.
If motor doesn't blow.
And his motor doesn't blow up. And there's other guys on also varying strategies who are running back in 25th right now that had things turned out just slightly differently, they would have been probably top 5, top 10. And that's just something that you cannot get out of just coming up and casually inserting yourself into any part of that race. You've got to watch it from beginning to end because that's the story of the race. It's the way that they get from lap 1 to lap 300, how it plays out, who's doing what. I mean, I texted you and Brandon yesterday. If Keselowski had just been if he just had been dealt another hand, he'd have been fine. But everybody's making a guess as to how they think it's going to happen. And it just didn't work out for some guys. It did work out for others. And for others, it both worked out and didn't work out.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why this race is a good race, is because that race was a story from beginning to end. Whereas there's sometimes, just like you said, I loved the way that they broke the stages out because the first one being 45 laps to the last one being extremely long, you got a little bit of that, okay, here's a sprint race. Here's a little bit longer of a thing, and here's a long green flag run to end the race on. I mean, that it just worked out in such a perfect way.
Someone last week on the podcast that I listened to, all the ones I listened to, someone brought that up. It's like you should change the stages to literally what you just said. So you have like different types of races within each race.
Oh, yeah. I think that was on Door Bumper Clear talking about how the 600s 100, 100, 100, 100.
Yeah. Which we talked about that on the podcast before the 600, how it's the same the whole race because it's 100,
Yeah.
100, 100. It would be a lot cooler if it was different, like something
Yeah.
like 50 laps and then 200 laps and then, however they wanted to do it. But
yeah,
it'd be a lot cooler.
I think it'd make
different.
it for an awesome race. But that's just part of it. I mean, every race has its different things that you're coming to see. And Gateway, I think they've done a great job of doing exactly that, taking what could be a really, really boring race and sprinkling in just enough with the way that they regulate that race to make sure that at some point there's something for everybody. There's a short, quick, fast, race your heart out stage, and there's a long green flag run. Because if they didn't do that, I think that race would have absolutely been an extremely boring race. But it worked out phenomenal to be able to watch all those varying strategy ideas work out. Watching some guys race their cars literally to the point where their car can't go any further. Like, how is that not a good race?
Totally. All right, let's. You said you had some thoughts on the Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson wreck. Let's hear it.
Oh, this is gonna be my my thing this week that I think is going to make a lot of people have a lot of opinions about.
Your hack of the week?
Because, no, not my hack of the week.
Oh.
Just a general question, just to you, to anybody. Are we seeing the decline of Kyle Busch? Potentially.
I don't think so. If it's all the circumstances, I think. If Kyle Busch was still in a top tier car, I think Kyle Busch is still guaranteed a few wins a year.
I'm not arguing that he couldn't get wins,
even on
for sure.
Even on the back end of the Joe Gibbs thing, when he hated everything and whatever, he still had a couple wins a year when things were at the time as worse as they could have got, in his opinion.
See, in my head, I'm basing this not just off of racing, what he does on the racetrack, also his comments off the racetrack. I think the dude has obviously calmed down a lot. His opinions he gives in his media interviews are not nearly as divisive or polarizing as they used to be. I don't know if that's because he has a tighter leash now, or if because he just genuinely is getting older and just does not have the same drive to piss everybody the hell off like he used to. You're also seeing interviews come out where Kyle's talking about his plan for retirement and how that's going to go for him, and he already has it worked out in his head.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing that they always talk about with marriage is the one thing you never joke about is divorce because you don't even want that word to exist in your marriage. I wonder if the same thing somewhat applies to something as competitive as a racing career. The moment you start talking about leaving and the moment that you have a plan for leaving, that's the moment that your performance is probably going to start its decline. But you got those two things going on. You've got him definitely outrunning the equipment at some points. He has moments where he does shine, but then he also has moments where he wrecks Stenhouse on lap one. Basically lap one, lap two, whatever it was. He wrecks him out of the race. And then now you've got him get barely even sideswiped by the 5 car and then just absolutely drive in there so damn low, squeeze him down into the bottom of the corner, hit him a couple times, cause yourself to get a flat tire and wreck out of the race. Like Kyle Larson kept racing. You were out. So now we've got Kyle throwing temper tantrum. What looked like, I can't speak to him. I wasn't in the car, but it looks like he threw a temper tantrum pretty much like 2 weeks in a row. Or not 2 weeks in a row, but like 2 races recently in the last 3 weeks. You've got all this talk about retirement. Even whenever you do make a mistake, you just get out of the car and give a very bland interview. I don't know. I haven't been seeing the fire out of Kyle Busch that made Kyle Busch who he was. And that's where I'm at with it.
Kyle Busch.
Yes, I don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like people finally got on his side when he went to RCR and people genuinely liked him. And then, I don't know, maybe... I can't say if that affected him or not, but it's just like you don't get booed anymore. You're getting cheered for. You're not performing as much. You don't have a win for a whole year in the NASCAR Cup Series. He's got another 6 months to figure it out to get a win, so he doesn't lose his every season get a win race streak. But I don't know. It's giving me Jimmie Johnson June 2017 vibes.
Man, I probably said the same thing about Jimmie Johnson, though, too, back in the day until it panned out and then it was just over, you know?
Yeah.
But I just... what am I trying to say? It's hard to be like yesterday, and he's like, we can't afford to have, like, this day.
Yeah.
Like, when you got to capitalize on, like, what we talked about last week, Kyle Busch's average finish there is 1.5 or whatever.
Yep.
And he's the only Chevrolet to qualify in the top 10. You know, he ran good. Austin Dillon finished 6th, I think, 8th, something like that. So that's a opportunity, clearly, for them to run well. And I think, like, the quote, like, we suck just as bad as you do, that he said to Ricky, you know? Like, it's hard for him to be as fired up and in the mix when his cars, I think he thinks, are that bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has to, like, overdrive. When he's in the opportunity to be up there, he feels like he has to get it all right now. So he's, like, overdriving the car in a way.
That is true, but he also is the only reason that he didn't finish that race yesterday.
100%. I'm just saying, like, in my mind, I still think Kyle Busch is great. Like a great race car driver.
Well, I'm not going to make the argument that he's not. I think if you put me and MJ on the same basketball court right now, I think he still whoops my fucking ass. And most people in the NBA, he could probably still beat them on a one-on-one game. That's probably true. But Kyle Busch is sitting 17th in the driver's standings right now.
Yeah.
And that's not
I'm also
normal
not saying
Kyle
I
Busch
don't
stuff.
agree with you. Like, I agree with you. And it's like, last year was like very, he didn't overall run as good as Kyle Busch runs overall in a season, but he did pump out 3 wins. So that, like, gave them all something to be happy about and, like, hang their hat on, I would say. But then, like, when you run like this without squeaking out a win or two there, it, like, makes everything, the pressure and the media and just all the stuff, even worse, you know? Like,
it doesn't help that he's not up there every week running in the top 10.
Yeah.
Running in the top 5. I mean, you're running, I know this isn't necessarily his average finish, but I mean, you're running average around 17th place, obviously.
No,
so
no,
you're not
that's
in the conversation
close.
a lot.
Normally, where a guy's at in points is about where your average finishing position is.
Yeah.
So you're correct.
And at the end of the day, you're looking at this and saying, while I do still believe that Kyle Busch is arguably one of the greatest NASCAR drivers of all time, are most of those stats behind him? And obviously, yes, he's older, but how many more stat headlines does he have in front of him, and how difficult is it going to be for him to overcome the adversity he's obviously going through right now, knowing his age, knowing how much he's starting to focus on his own kid's racing career? It's just getting to the point where I'm starting to ask some questions. I'm not necessarily trying to sit here and write Kyle Busch's story, and I can't tell you specifically because I don't know Kyle Busch, but I know for a fact that I'm getting closer to the end of the book than I am to the beginning, and I'm starting to make predictions as to how I think it will play out. And it's hard for me not to throw in there, is the Kyle Busch we got used to, is that in the past now? Is he now just doing everything he can to try to salvage a good few years out of this thing till he can race Brexton in the Truck Series?
Let me ask you a question. Right now, with knowing what you know about these two race teams and like the ceiling and what you think is happening with one and happening with the other, if you were a race car driver and you had a contract on the table from RCR and Spire Motorsports, who would you pick?
Man, that's tough. That's really tough. I think if I had to just in a snap decision make a decision, I kind of had to deliberate that one for a second in my head. I would take the Spire Motorsports deal.
Same.
Because
you
have a race team that has employed Austin Dillon, who is obviously not doing what you need him to do as a race car driver, but you're keeping him around. You put Kyle Busch in a position at your team, and I think he's your focus, and I think he's the person that I'm going to have to compete with every week. And I don't know that the other car would get as much attention as Kyle Busch would. I think it's not. People are questioning what's going on over that team. Whereas when they question what's going on over at Spire Motorsports, they are obviously investing so much into their team. They're acquiring drivers that they think will move them up. They are acquiring spotters that are some of the best spotters to ever sit on the stand. They have a major backing with their investor, which could go one of two different ways. But it seems like they're trying to put their best foot forward. I think they want to grow more than RCR. I think RCR is a little bit complacent sometimes, and I think Spire is not willing to be right now, and that's where I'd rather go.
You nailed it. If you're a race car driver, you want to be around people that want to win races and will do anything to win races. You don't want to be with a team that spends half of their money being complacent.
Yeah. And I know that Kyle Busch is in a position to win races driving that 8 car, but it's hard when you're the only one trying.
You got to hear me out, though, on this wild theory I have here. So
I love it.
He has already doing the Spire truck stuff, which I get at Chevrolet to Chevrolet, all that, business stuff there.
Kyle Busch, correct?
Kyle Busch. He wants to do all this stuff and possibly run in the Truck Series. I think he leaves RCR, goes to Spire, ends his Cup career at Spire, and then goes and races the Truck Series with Spire after it's all said and done. And he gets him back into a spot where he can. Spire is putting all the money, all the resources, all the things into the car.
Yeah.
And for him to win races.
I like the wild theory. That is a wild theory. How many races in the Truck Series has he already ran this year?
He already Darlington was at his 5th, I think.
He only won 2 this year. Which, anybody else does that? Damn. Pretty damn impressive. Kyle Busch does that? It's like, damn, what happened the other 3 times? It's just weird. These are all the things that I've been watching this progress over the course of the season, and maybe it's just an off season. Everybody's entitled to one. But Kyle Busch is kind of too good to have him. So as soon as he starts, it's going to start a conversation. I'll gladly be the one to start it just to watch the arguments rolling on Twitter. But
I mean,
that's
I'm
where I
with you.
sit with it.
I'm with you. We said last week or week before last, like, it is sad to see, like, how off RCR is.
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe they have something coming down the pipeline. Chevy started off the year extremely strong, and all of a sudden it seems like Ford has just leapfrogged them. So
yes, but it's also like this isn't new that RCR has been quote unquote sad.
Yeah.
Since Kevin Harvick wasn't racing that 29 car, what has RCR done?
Yeah, it's very true.
And I think he left the RCR car in like 2012, 13, something like that.
Yeah, and until Tyler Reddick got in it.
Okay,
I don't
until
remember
Tyler
anything
Reddick got in it. They haven't won 10 races between any driver in the last 10 years. They have not won 10 races total. I know that for a fact. Austin Dillon has a couple. Tyler Reddick had three or four. Yeah, 2 or 3, 3 or 4, whatever. And then Kyle Busch has 3 or 4. They're averaging, like, if you want to put it, a win per year.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They wish they could have gotten a win per year, too.
Exactly. It's been like, it hasn't been good in a while. While I'm sitting here also wearing an RCR hat, just so everyone knows.
Oh, yeah. Hey, last time we started talking shit about a team, they closed down, so mind mouth.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things. It's like, that's why I wanted to ask that question. It's like you go where people want to win, and you don't just sit there and be complacent with like what it is, I guess. And they've just
I don't want to go to a team where my teammate is the laughing stock of the podcast world in the sport that we are competing in. And right now, if you listen to an episode of Dirty Modo and don't hear them talk crap about Austin Dillon, you probably sneezed at some point because they do it every week. I mean, it's always happening. You've got everybody on, so that means Dirty Mo is okay with them talking crap about Austin Dillon because it happens every week and they haven't told him to stop. So that's the reputation that you have in the NASCAR community.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be okay with that if I really cared about winning.
Exactly.
Put it plain and simple. Put it plain and simple.
You don't.
So
I've always talked about having that A-list guy. And what's the point of having like the A-list guy and then the other guy that's like not even on the board kind of guy? You know what I mean?
What's
like,
the point?
You're going to have 2 drivers. I don't know. It's just the whole thing's it's just interesting.
I like it.
All the way around. But yeah, I think, we've talked enough about all that.
Other wild piece of rumor news that hasn't been confirmed yet, but I want to get your thoughts on, is the idea of them. So everybody knows that NASCAR is trying to figure out their charter deal. They're trying to understand what the teams need and what they're willing to concess on to create a deal for the charter situation in NASCAR to be updated, become a little bit more modern, and the charters are basically your franchise rights to run a race car and have a guaranteed starting spot every single week. So they aren't necessarily structured the same way, and that's kind of the biggest argument right now. I know you know all this, just in case anybody doesn't know what all is going on. They're trying to negotiate how they want the sport to be structured for, I think it's like the next 7 to 10 or something like that years.
The TV deal, which is 7 years.
And so they're trying to figure out exactly how the teams are going to...
in my opinion.
Yes, I agree. But there is a new rumor going around that 2 teams will be allowed to grandfather in and exempt this rule, but that they want to create the charter structure where there's only a maximum of 3 cars allowed per team. So you're only allowed to have 3 total charters. I don't think that's obviously, since this is still in the rumor mill, I don't think it necessarily eliminates them from the possibility of running a 4th. It just will not be a chartered 4th car, which means that when you show up to qualifying, you're only trying to compete for the remaining 2 to 4 to 6 spots in the race that are available.
They don't get paid as much. I think that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my whole fucking life.
Let's go. I knew we'd agree on this.
This whole deal is so greedy and ass backwards of anything that I've ever heard as a proposal with 2 groups of people having to work together. This is the thing.
This is a France family proposal for sure.
Yeah. NASCAR has to have the teams. The teams have to have NASCAR, and they both have to have racetracks to race on that are safe and up to date, and yada, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
This whole deal, first off, when they proposed this, however long ago when this came in, I don't actually remember how many years this has been going on, but I'd say for a solid 6, 7, something like that, maybe. Were charters around in 2017 when you started watching? I don't know.
I mean, they could have been, but I didn't hear about them back then.
Okay,
I hear about them every damn day.
You
now.
cannot tell all of these guys originally because they were given away, but they were given away for a very small amount of money for what they are now. No matter what, if they were given away if they were sold for $1 or sold for $1 billion, you cannot be NASCAR and take those away.
Yeah.
I
completely agree.
You cannot. They have to
just for the sake of control.
Yes, you have to be if it's going to be like a franchise and that's what they're calling it. Then it's a lifetime charter. It's whoever that family is, that team owns them forever. Just like football teams, the son or daughter comes in and helps run it, or they hire someone else to run the team, but it's still owned by that sole person. And the only way it's getting sold is if that person sells it to the next person and they made a profit off of the situation.
Yeah.
If SHR shuts down 10 years ago, they would literally not made money. What did they have to sell? Nothing.
They had pieces
everybody
and parts
builds their own. Everybody builds their own pieces and parts. There's you don't sell the piece. You can't sell anything.
That's where I was going with that, was they had the pieces, the parts, and the machines to make those pieces and parts, but probably by the time they got a chance to sell them, they were obsolete because somebody else already did it better.
Exactly. So now, at least if you sell and you have something to sell.
Yeah.
And say they sell these charters.
You have something of value.
Yeah.
It is your responsibility to build up your team, but at least you have something of value. Does it make it harder to get into the sport because there is basically a paywall? 100%. But at the end of the day, having that thing to sell, that's the whole reason we always praise BJ McLeod, because he took that situation he was in and sold that Charger for $40 million straight up profit.
Exactly.
All he made was profit off of that. So and now he can still race cars and sit on his beach in Daytona and have 2 Coronas instead of 1.
Exactly. Hell, you have 18 wheelers worth of Coronas with $40 million.
Hell yeah.
He could have you have something to sell. So at least now, SHR is going out of business. They have something to sell. Say they sell those for $25 million a piece, which is just what I've heard is the going-ish price now that there's multiple on the market. I don't think they're getting $40 million a piece for these charters. I just don't.
Yeah.
But, okay, say they are 25 a piece. They can roll out of here, and I'm sure they got some debt and some things to pay off, but they're going to get paid $100 million. And Tony Stewart and Gene Haas aren't hurting for money, but at least they have something to sell. That makes the most sense from a business standpoint. Now let's get to this other stupid thing of this. If the agreement is going to be only 3 teams, every single team, I'm a Hendrick fan. Fuck getting grandfathered in. You're going to have to lose.
I agree.
You're going to have to sell and here again, I don't know how you tell them you have to sell a team. That doesn't make any sense. But if that's
you're
the
not
situation,
going to be able to, yeah,
it's never going to work. And they proposed They proposed this deal on Tuesday, I was told. And then you get to the media, and the only 2 people that ever talk about it, which thank God we have guys that will talk about it now, because if this was all the old owners back in the day, the fans would not know a single thing about this, because NASCAR doesn't want the people to know about all this. But thank God for Denny Hamlin and Brad Keselowski, because they get there Saturday or Sunday, whenever they did their media availability, and said this thing still needs work and it is still not correct.
Yeah.
And everyone,
I love it.
Denny
Hamlin has started every day. Denny gets the glove a little bit further off, because every day he starts saying a little bit more and getting a little bit more angry about it, and you can see it building in him. And I absolutely can't wait for every single episode of his podcast now, just to see what else he's going to let us know about.
Because NASCAR is a bully. They've bullied all these people into doing all this stuff over the years, and you finally have guys being like, this is fucked.
I love that they even told the teams, and they told this on a podcast. It probably was Dale Jr. I think it was Dale Jr. or Kelly Earnhardt talking to Elton Sawyer. And he comes on there and he says, we actually started meeting with the teams individually instead of as a big group because it just seemed like we could get a lot more done that way. And I was like, no, that is a prisoner's dilemma you are putting everybody into. You're going to this guy and saying, hey, he said he would do this. Why don't you want to do this? Hey, he said he would do this, and taking every little thing you want from each of those individual meetings
and putting it into a big contract.
Anything that supports your side. Well, I've already got teams that are signed up for this and this and this. And it may be individual teams have signed up for small things, but now you're going to go to me and present that package and just tell me straight to my face, oh, yeah, we've already got a bunch of teams to agree to this. It'd be nice if you just could, too. Taking the group meetings away from the teams just shows you how much they want to have control over this situation. They refuse to meet with teams in a group setting anymore because I think that they just get bullied. They get bullied in those meetings. And they're using the lack of meetings to bully them
like
back.
To be bullied. That's the thing. They don't like to have the taste of their own medicine. But
Absolutely.
You're never. All the podcasts have been saying over the last couple of weeks, like this is going to be the one that NASCAR is like, you're going to sign it or you're not. These guys ain't going to sign it.
Yeah,
these guys are not going to sign it.
Then what do you do?
I don't know, and I don't know how that works, and that's for someone with a higher pay grade than me.
And it sucks that we have to talk about this as fans because this could affect the entire future of the sport, the way that this all breaks down, how teams operate, the money that they have to operate with, the amount of risk they're willing or able to take is all hinged around how this contract works out. So you may be tired of hearing about it, but this could be the whole reason why NASCAR either gets a lot better or a lot worse in the coming years. How this works out.
And we're June 3rd, and this is supposed to be done before cars even touch the track in Daytona.
Yeah.
There's no way anyone expected this to go on this long.
No,
and now
not
we
at
got
all.
this TV deal done, and now this is just hanging over everybody's heads. Like, what's going to happen? You know, what's going to happen? The whole thing's just crazy.
This is going to be a so much bigger story by the time the year is over than it ever has become so far.
Yeah, and thank God that we can finally hear about it, though. Because I'm telling you, 10 years ago, this would have been kept behind closed doors. The way that NASCAR wanted it to be.
Yes.
Still to this day, they want it to be that way. But with guys, all these guys that are in here and podcasts and people that are willing to talk, like the guy from Spire on Kelly Earnhardt's, like Justin Marks, willing to talk. You got
Chris Rice
Denny,
starting to say a few things.
Yes, Denny and Brad and Chris Rice. And it's like, it's going to come to I don't know if they can like go on strike because they have to like have the races, which the guy, Jeff, I think was his name, he's like, they can't not show up because their sponsorship obligations, like they have to be there. Yeah. So like, there's no like on strike situation, which is what makes this whole thing. There's just so many hands in the pot. Like I just said with NASCAR, I forgot to even bring in sponsors like NASCAR, the teams, the tracks, the sponsors, like all this stuff. And it basically comes down to what Denny Hamlin says, that the racetracks make so much money and don't give any of it away. I heard the greatest analogy yesterday from a page I follow on Twitter. And it's the reason that racetracks like Gateway are sold out and have awesome concerts and all this stuff because it's privately owned and they do all of their own stuff. With SMI, they used to only go in and spend all of their money at like Daytona and Charlotte. And then they would take all the other races, like Kentucky was just a race to put on to profit Charlotte and Daytona.
Yeah.
It wasn't to put things back into Kentucky.
It was to build the bottom line, yeah.
Yeah, they weren't going to go put, you know, a big concert, spend the money at Kentucky, but they will at Charlotte or Daytona. And it just opens your eyes to so many things that are just so ass backwards. Just think if every single racetrack was owned and promoted like Gateway was this weekend. They had pre-race concerts, post-race concerts, which RIP to those people that had to work after the race to set up a stage. I feel for you.
Yeah,
hardcore. I feel for you. I never would have thought of that 3 years ago, but now I thought about that yesterday and they said they had a post-race concert, and I was like, oh, God, they got to roll a stage out here and do all this work to get a show started. It's like, sounds terrible.
After the people were already entertained and are hammered, so now you got a
Yes.
bunch of drunk people before you've even started
And
playing.
you've had to hang
Ooh.
out there all day in the sun. Brutal.
Yeah.
I hate that for them. No,
But
I
I
don't
bet the
hate that for
fans
the
loved the hell.
I'm not
of
saying
it.
I hate that for the fans
Oh,
or
yeah.
anything. I'm talking about for the guys that are
That's
building
just
the
for the
stage
crew,
and
the
stuff.
guys that do
yeah.
what we do.
Yeah. That's all I'm saying there.
Yeah.
It's
I
great
bet the
that they
fans
do that.
absolutely
It's
loved it,
great
though.
that they do that. And I've heard Wendell and those guys talk about how back in the 90s they did post races like Michigan and Pocono and places like that, all privately owned racetracks, I must say, back in the 90s. And they were awesome because everyone's hammered and it's like just another level of craziness.
Yeah. I don't actually know the answer to this. Who owns Rockingham nowadays? Is it SMI?
I don't know.
Rockingham an independent racetrack?
I don't know.
Because they've been posting
probably
a lot.
independent because they're gone.
They've been posting a lot about the upgrades they've been making to that racetrack, and you can tell just through everything that they say that they want a NASCAR race so damn bad. And once North Wilkesboro happened, I think
Wilkesboro and Charlotte and Rockingham got a grant, a huge grant of money to make shit happen.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see it in every one of their posts how bad they want that race, dude. They want it bad. They're talking about the safer barriers that they've installed, the repave on their track, the track facility upgrades that they're making. They want a NASCAR race.
Let me just put this out here, though. And not that I haven't really heard anything about this, but there's no way Rockingham spends all that money to do all that stuff without knowing something is happening.
Yes.
Does that make sense for everyone
Completely
listening?
agree.
Like, you're not going to go put safer barriers in, which is a huge financial thing that you have to do at your racetrack, but you're not going to do all that if you don't know that there are race cars coming to your racetrack.
Yep.
In my
Completely agree.
So,
I hope they do it. But yeah, they've been posting a lot about it too, so I think there's small little things that are happening here and there, but every day Marcus Smith gets a little less popular. Every day NASCAR gets the teams and drivers a little bit more pissed off. And every day the drivers and the teams are looking for new ways to try to get their piece of the pie that they rightfully deserve.
It's all about the money.
I know, man. When I started watching in 2017, you know whose name I never heard about was Marcus Smith's. I mean, I know you probably were hearing about it because you were more deep into it, but I heard team names and I heard drivers' names and I heard the names of the folks in the booth. Everything else outside of that, as a fan, that's what I know. And I'll throw you back to the day that I cannot remember. I want to say it was Formula One. But they go to Indianapolis. They're going to race that road course. And the way that they had recently redone the track and the fact that the tires were so damn soft there, you had only like 4 people start the race because everybody else finished the parade lap and protest for how dangerous the track situation was and the fact that they weren't doing anything about it. 16 of 20 cars parked on pit road and did not start that race. And they had never ran a single lap.
I don't know about any of that, but it would be so cool to see it happen.
That is a thing that did happen. They had a diamond grading done to the track, and it basically chewed the tires up so bad that the race car drivers genuinely felt unsafe behind their cars, and they were like, somebody's going to die if we put this race on. And only 4 actual teams started the race, and they raced the whole thing with 4 cars.
They should do that at the Charlotte Roval.
That'd be incredible.
That'd be the race that it would happen.
That's in the playoffs, too.
I know.
That'd be nuts. Just start and park them so they can't necessarily take away their playoff eligibility, but they can't say that they didn't.
That's how you'd have to do it. You'd have to complete one lap. You'd have to complete one lap and then pull it down pit road.
Imagine they throw the green flag and 3 or 4 guys try to race their ass off to get around, and the other guys just continue at pace car speed around the entire track and then come around and then just drive down pit road, stop the cars, turn them off, drop the net, get out. I'm just throwing that out there for the NASCAR folks that listen.
If it ever happened, it would happen at a place. It would happen at Charlotte. If it ever happened. One, because Charlotte's the Roval, and they will not put it back on the oval.
Yes.
One, it's because it's the home track for SMI.
Mm-hmm.
And one, it's the home base of everybody.
of
So
NASCAR
you
teams.
wouldn't
So it'd
be-
be like giving a giant middle finger from across the street.
Yes, and you wouldn't have to spend. Chris Rice said it costed $220,000 per car to get to Portland.
Golly.
Here we go again.
For an Xfinity race.
You know what the smallest purse is for any race in the Xfinity Series? Portland.
You're kidding.
Why
so
is
we
there
got
a
to spend the
standalone-
most money?
Why is there a standalone race on the West Coast for Xfinity Series cars? Same thing the Cup guys say about going to L.A.
Yeah.
L.A. does not pay. The Clash does not pay like a normal purse for a race is like $7 million to $8 million. The purse for the Clash is like $1 million. That's $1 million split between 36 teams.
Yeah. And every team has 40-something employees that are at the track alone.
Hotels and gas and people and all the things, dude. Holy shit.
And whoever's race car
Chris Rice
doesn't
said
make it.
$220,000 per car. They spent $500,000 just to get to Portland. That does not count when AJ Allmendinger backed the 16 car into the wall. Think about all the extra
all the
work,
fuel
the parts
and the
pieces.
tires and everything else that they have to add on to once they're there. That's just unbelievable.
It's crazy.
But that's the situation we're in. So I felt like at some point we had to mention it a little bit and get on a deep dive on it. I know this is going to push this podcast long, but every now and then I do like to remind people that we do have a serious side and we do care. But that's where we're at with the whole thing. I'm glad we got to talk about that.
Yeah, me too. It's just like something's going to give, and it could give in a big damn way soon.
That could. So everybody keep your eye out on that. We'll try to keep you up to date. We'll try not to get too angry. But it's really hard. Anyway, what's your hack of the week, dude?
You already know.
Hack of the week.
Fox.
Already again,
Allmendinger
man.
or
Look
has
at that.
Allgaier in the 5-car listed, has Shane Van Gisbergen listed in the 16 in a race he was not in, and has Kaz Gralla listed in the 15 car. Who's in charge of putting any of this stuff together? And does it not get looked over before it gets, obviously it does not, before it gets sent out to the masses for everyone to see?
I know, that blew my mind. I couldn't believe that oversight happened. That's one of those small things that's a way bigger deal than it needs to be. Kind of like I was talking about with that damn dog boarding place. They may have pissed me off yesterday, but it was the other things that they had done the day before that just slowly accumulate the amount of wrongdoing. So after all the mistakes Fox has made as a broadcaster that have already been pointed out so publicly, to do something so asinine, it makes no sense. It makes no sense why they would let that fall through the cracks.
There's
Someone's
just
not paying
multiple
attention.
things that they keep doing, dude. This is the third year in a row. Not that I'm like, oh my God, I got to see the big pyro thing at Gateway. Third year in a row, they've not showed it on the broadcast.
They did show it on the broadcast.
To start the race?
They didn't show it live.
Yeah, they didn't show it live. They didn't show it live. That's what I'm talking about. They
did end up showing the fire and everything.
At the end,
and
they did.
all the stuff.
Yes, they did show that at the end. During and when it happened, though, people are talking about it on the broadcast.
Yeah, and we don't watch it.
Doesn't get shown. We have to, again, same thing with like Kevin Harvick's podcast last time. We get talking about the podcast. There's a damn green flag racing going on. We already got to spend half the race on commercials, and boom, we're going to look at the guys in the booth and just sit here and watch this. This is great. I love watching them and talking in the booth, and there's cars going around the track. And then to top it all off, we have a side-by-side view battle for the lead, and it just shows the same two kids in the stands. On a side-by-side cut. We're literally Clint Boyer and them are talking about a battle for the lead, and they got a kid and his buddy in this frame, and then in the right-hand side of the frame, it's just the one kid. But the same kid's in the same picture. Why are they showing that?
I don't know, man. I love that. They did have one win for me yesterday, and I mentioned it to you in the text, but I died laughing when Clint Boyer, after the credit ones to watch thing happens at the start of stage 3. Clint Boyer picks the whole Penske organization. He's kept on bringing up to Kevin Harvick. Look at those guys running 1, 2, 3. Who's that? Who's that running 1, 2, 3? Is that all the Penske guys I picked? I don't care about no Seabell. I'm looking at the guys running 1, 2, 3. He probably said it 7 times in a row, just giving Harvick shit. and the graphics department puts up a little graphic at the bottom of the running order, and it just says Penske running order, first, second, third. And just, I could tell they were trolling Clint Boyer, so that's so funny that they'll take the time to do that, but they won't get everything else right.
Brutal.
Cracked me up.
Who's yours?
Absolutely cracked me up. Ryan Blaney's gas man, dude.
Oof. Or crew chief.
Well, crew chief, but it's just funnier to say gas man because you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I knew as soon as coming off of turn 4, like I said earlier, he had a problem. And the first thing I thought was, remember how much they were bragging on the fact that they've leapfrogged Austin Cindric coming out of that pit stop and beat him by like 2 seconds off?
That was
There's
the gas
probably
he needed.
a reason, and
that was the gas he needed.
That little bit of lead he gained was every second of gas he didn't. They needed, it probably was like a quarter of a second longer on the gas tank that would have made it. They'd been fine. But missed it by that much. So I'm a Blaney fan, dude. I've got to give it to his crew chief for not giving him enough gas. Crew chief and gas man combo. Suspend him for 6 weeks. It is what it is.
Blaney said, come out of the corner, I can't believe you ran me out of fucking gas, man.
Yeah, for real. We're out of gas? How the fuck did you let that happen, dude? I know I'm cussing a lot, but that is exactly how the radio transmission worked, and I don't have a fancy beeper machine. But that was my quickly my hack of the week. I do have another award to give out today, the Helper Brother Out Award. Truex pushing Seabell down the straightaways probably saved him a top 10 finish.
10 for sure.
And that was incredible to watch.
I agree.
That was such a cool teammate moment, getting pushed down the track, finishing in 8th instead of finishing probably in like 15th or 16th that he would have finished otherwise. All thanks to Martin Truex being 3 laps down, helping him out. Yeah. That was really cool.
It was.
But man, what a great weekend. I am not ever going to recover from this weekend.
What a great
As
podcast.
A race fan, hell yeah, that too. Between being a race fan and being this hungover, man, I'm having a rough Sunday, Monday. But I'll get over it one day.
Hell yeah. Well, that's probably it for this one.
Heck yeah.
I think.
Catch us on our social media channels. You got Caleb Conrady. You can find me everywhere except for at a bar in any of the next 4 to 5 days.
Dawson Edwards Music, across the board. Ray's Rowdy Nicky T, Matt Burrell, Ray's Rowdy Racing across the board. I thought we got some good sound bites in this one, so it'll be good to post.
Heck yeah. If anybody has a spare one lying around, please send Dawson Edwards a measuring glass so that way he doesn't overpour my drinks ever again. If somebody could get that to him, it'd be awesome. Just make sure it's got a big old Alabama A on the side, but we'll sign the card, Go Braves. It'll make his day. Anyway, that's all we got for you today, y'all. Thanks for sticking around, and let's go fix this charter deal. What you say?
See y'all.
See y'all.